Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week and get a £10 free bet the next week. Paddy Power, you beauty! Max £10 bonus per person per week. Excludes shop bets. Selected odds. Conditions and exclusions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plough and in the studio today I'm joined by Racing Post colleague James Hill. We've also got Tom Siegel and Tom Nugent from Paddy Power on the line as well. Coming up on today's show, we're going to look back on what's been a marvellous Dublin Racing Festival the last 2 days, and we're also going to look at the Game Spirit Chase where Altior is due to return. More on that later, and of course there's your usual chance to win another £25 or €25 free bet from Paddy Power. But first off, we're going to kick straight on in there because we've got so much to cover with the Betfair Hurdle, the big betting race of this weekend. Tom Nugent, hello, how are you, and can we have some betting on this please?
Hi Maddie, yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, sure, Jenkins tops the Betfair Hurdle market at the moment alongside Lawler, both at 8-1. Cave Races next in at 10s alongside Blue Air Rouge and Lochderg Spirit. Kalashnikov is 12-1 alongside Irish Row, and it's 14-1 bar.
So Tom Siegel, I know you did a bit of anti-post tipping on the Betfair Hurdle. How's your opinion on this race changed in the last couple of weeks?
To be honest, Maddie, I haven't thought about it much in the last couple of weeks because there's been so much other good stuff going on, but not really. I liked Lochderg Spirit a few weeks ago. I still think he's got a good chance, got the right sort of profile for the race. Whether he's Nicky Henderson's first string, I don't know, he's got 5 in there, hasn't he, or something, I'm not sure. Jenkins has obviously come on the scene, the Charlie Parks and Verdana Blue I'm a big fan of. I think he's the right type of the race. I like Kalashnikov too. And, you know, there's plenty in there with a good chance. It looks like a really good race. Layla or whatever they call it. Looks, you know, that his form's working out as well. So, looks a great race, as it always is. I'm with Lochderg Spirit. I have no reason to change my mind, really.
Okay. Do you think it's quite an open, I mean, it's always bound to be an open race, but this year in particular, can you see the punters coming for one and nailing their colours to the mast?
Look, it's 12, I don't know what price Tom over there is, but it looks like, you know, 10 or 8-1 the field at the moment. It looks like it's good. I can't see any reason why it won't be that on the morning. I mean, there's nothing there that stands out as being especially well handicapped or a horse that's going to get smashed in during the week. There's plenty with similar sort of chances. I mean, yeah, wide open race. It'll be about conditions, ground, jockeys, all those things that I'm not sure about really.
Okay. And Jimmy, have you picked one out in specific that you like in this one?
Yeah, novices tend to have a pretty good record in this race. So that was my first port of call when I looked at it. I mean, Kalashnikov has obviously got a good chance. The one that caught my eye a bit lower down was Waterlord. Now, he was a good bumper horse a few years back for John Ferguson, now with Donald McCain. And he's won twice this season, but he's been running on heavy ground. He could be well treated if the ground dries out. The weather forecast doesn't look too bad for certainly the first part of this week. So he's of interest. The other one I quite like is Spirit of the Games for Dan Skelton. Always like to be with that yard for these 2 mile handicap hurdles. And his form in the Lanzarote looks to be working out particularly well.
Yep. Okay. And Tom Nugent, anything to add on those?
I haven't had a massive look at the race, Maddie, to be honest with you. But one that just stuck out was Blue Air Rouge. I thought he had a grand run there just before Christmas in Ascot behind a ridiculously well handicapped Hunter's Call, or at least ridiculously improved. Obviously, he went chasing. He's a grade 1 novice hurdler, Blue Air Rouge, and went chasing, didn't work out, and he's back hurdling now. Didn't show much in Fairy House early December and showed a bit in Ascot there just before Christmas. So he's one that could have a shout.
Okay, now we're not 100% on who's going to turn up in these other races at Newbury over the weekend. Maybe Native River, of course, on his way to the Gold Cup. And I'm pretty sure that Altior's now confirmed to run as long as the ground doesn't dry out too much. Jimmy, any particular thoughts on those 2 races, or will it just be a watching brief for you?
Just be a watching brief. Excited to see Altior back. Be interested to see how he goes. It's not going to be easy for him. You know, first time out in a race like that. So I'd be interested to see what opposition he gets. And his price will shorten if he wins easily. So for the champion chase, it'll be interesting to see how he goes.
And Tom, do you think if Altior wins on Saturday that's the champion chase sewn up, or do you think Min or something else can give him a real challenge?
Look, he's the best horse. He's undoubtedly the best horse. Do I think no, if he wins on Saturday? Not necessarily. No, it's a different day. I mean, I'm not one of these people that thinks Cheltenham's all about, who's the best horse or whatever. It's all about jumping, rhythm, all those sort of things that can change, at a drop of a hat. So, look, he's the best horse, and if things go smoothly on Saturday and he gets to Cheltenham in good form, he'll win because he's miles better than the rest. But no, I'm not going to sit there and say he's a certainty by any stretch of the imagination. Plenty can go wrong.
Okay, we're going to look back at the weekend's action now, but before we do, it's competition time. For your chance to win a £25 or €25 free bet from Paddy Power, simply tweet the answer to the following question using the hashtag Postcast. We'll announce the winner on Friday's show and your free bet will be credited to your Paddy Power account. This week's question is, who won Saturday's BHP Insurance Irish Champion Hurdle at Leopardstown?
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week and get a £10 free bet the next week. Paddy Power, you beauty! Max £10 bonus per person per week. Excludes shop bets. Selected odds. Conditions and exclusions apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to the Monday Postcast. We're going to look back on Bouverdare to start off with. He did what he had to do at Sandown. Nicky Henderson said that he needed a lot more work afterwards and he might run him in a gallop at Kempton. What was our analysis of that run, Jimmy? There was not much to say, really, was there?
Well, not much to say at all. I mean, it was pretty much a gallop round before the race started. I thought he jumped fine and got the job done pretty comfortably. Slight shake of the reins by Barry Geraghty up the running, but I wouldn't worry about that. Sandown's it's a long climb to the line. It's never the sort of track where you see horses coasting. So, John Constable's a good horse as well. So I thought he got the job done fine, and he's on track to defend his ground at Cheltenham.
I'm in agreement with you there. And Tom Siegel, Bouverdare, given that Forheen obviously was beaten in the Irish Champion Hurdle, now who do you see as his biggest rival? Do you still think Forheen could run well in that Champion Hurdle, or is Bouverdare getting banker material now for you?
I don't fancy Forheen at all, no. Do I think it's bank material? Yes, I do. There was something about it I didn't like on Saturday, to be honest. I know it was only a walkover. I didn't like his demeanour. I thought down the back straight he had his tail out and he was looking a bit as though he didn't want to be there. That could be anything. That might not be nothing to worry about at all. But I just didn't love the way he went through the race for the first half. At the end, he won easily. So it was probably nothing. It might have been nothing to worry about at all. But that slightly concerned me. Do I think he's banker material? Well, I just think it's the worst division probably of 2 mile hurdlers there's ever been. So, yes, I think I can't see anything, unless they decide to run Sam Crow in the Champion Hurdle, which they won't. I don't think there's a horse that is within 10 pounds of him. So, yes, I think he'll win.
Okay. And Tom Nugent, what was the bookies' reaction to Bouverdare and Forheen and Super Sunday in those races?
Yeah, so after Sandown, we weren't really. It was hard to have any sort of impression. So he was 4-6 unchanged directly after that result. Then after the Irish Champion Hurdle, obviously Super Sunday caused a bit of a shock. So he's now 7-2 from 6-1 for the Stairs Hurdle. Forheen is out to 6-1 from 11-4 for the Champion Hurdle. He's second favourite now. Bouverdare came in from 4-6 into 2-5 favourite for the Champion Hurdle.
Okay, that's excellent. Thanks. And Tom, what would you do with Forheen now, and what did you think about Super Sunday's run? Would you run him in the Champion Hurdle or Stayers Hurdle or what?
I thought Forheen was okay. He was much better than he was at Christmas, wasn't he? But he's a 10-year-old now, isn't he? That, even going back to his very best form, I'm not sure his Cheltenham form was ever as good as his Punchestown and Leopardstown form. So therefore, I'd be slightly, even if he'd won on Saturday, I'd think Bouverdare had beat him at Cheltenham. So I just don't think he's the horse he was. What would I do about Super Sunday? I'd run him in the Stayers Hurdle because that's what they've planned all along. He seems to stay. Looking at the Stayers Hurdle now, it's probably a harder race than the Champion Hurdle, but you've got Bouverdare to beat. And I didn't think it was. We're probably going to go on to this all about the Dublin Racing Festival. I thought it was a brilliant idea, a brilliant day, brilliant horses, whatever. But I actually thought the action on the track wasn't as good as the talk about it and the talk after it. I thought there was a lot of questions that came up and not many answers. Super Sunday's performance just put a massive question mark over the rest of the 2 mile division for me, while suggesting that he was probably the likely favourite and the likely winner of the Stayers Hurdle. But I think he's got a harder task in the Stayers. I think he'd definitely be second in a Champion Hurdle. I'm not sure he'd be second in the Stayers Hurdle, put it like that.
Okay, lots of questions for Tom then. Jimmy, anything to add on that, on Super Sunday and Faugheen's efforts?
I thought that was a much improved performance by Super Sunday. He looked happier to me actually dropping back in trip, which I was hugely surprised about. I wasn't expecting that at all. But you look at his breeding. I mean, why not? He is a flatbred.
By Galileo, isn't he? I think.
Well, yeah, indeed, champion flat sire. So, and he likes that better ground. We know he likes Cheltenham. I mean, if Buvardere didn't make it to Cheltenham, I mean, they'd have to think about supplementing him, wouldn't they, for the champion hurdle? I mean, it's a champion hurdle. I mean, it's the champion hurdler. So he given that run at Leopardstown, I think would have a big chance. With Buvardere, he might be the best he can finish. But if he weren't to run, then he'd have every chance of winning it.
Okay, we'll move on now to Sam Crow, who I just thought was absolutely incredible. We'll see what Tom Siegel has to say about him. Tom, did that give you another question, as in which race would you run him in, or what was your opinion? Were you as impressed as everyone else?
He couldn't fail to be, wasn't he? He's by far, I mean, we're talking about the 2 mile hurdlers being a sort of weak division. I'm struggling to find novice hurdlers that are any good. And Sam Crow is miles better than the rest of them, I think. I think he could run in either race. What I would say, though, is that if you run in a 2 mile novice grade 1 and beat, what is seemingly was a strong field beforehand, Pointless, why do anything different when you come to Cheltenham? It's not like he's got many better horses to beat. Gettysburg maybe, but when the goes up in division, I think the best British novice is Nicky Henderson's on the blind side. So I think, he's got a good horse to run in any race. For me, I'd stick to the 2 mile route. Why change anything? You just won the Group 1 at Leopardstown over 2 miles in a hack canter, showing tons of pace. Why would you want to do something different? I certainly wouldn't. I'd go for the Supreme, but that's up to them. They can. I think he'll win either race. To be honest, he's proven that he stays the trip. So I think it's a bit of an irrelevance. The only problem we've got is as anti-post punters, we don't know where he's going to go. My guess, if I was to put a value on it, I think he's more likely now to go for the Supreme than he is the Neptune. But we know the O'Learys; they'll have the final say in the matter, and they'll make the decision. But for me, if you win a 2 mile novice by 5 lengths, grade 1, that's the race you go for. Simple as that. You'd go for the same trip, but they can decide what they want to do. It's difficult. Anti-post punters are in a tricky position now.
I just want to ask Tom, were you at Leopardstown? What was your impression of Sam Crow? He seems to be living up to this hype, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, complete freak, to be honest with you. Just put it to bed after the last. Wasn't even challenged, and it was a good race. There was a lot of each way betting around him, and he just absolutely buried them. So it's scary. He's looking like the Cheltenham banker for the Irish anyway. He's an absolute monster, it looks like.
Which race would you run him, Tom? Tom, where would you run him? What do you think they'll do?
If I owned him, I'd honestly be of the opinion that it doesn't matter. I think he'd win wherever he goes.
I kind of liked it because Lee was at Leopardstown and he said he heard someone saying that I think they should run him in the Ballymore because it means we can enjoy him for longer and watch him for longer. I think that's a good argument. Jimmy, anything to add on Sam Crow? What's your opinion on which race he should go for?
Yeah, I'd probably side with Tom and slightly and say stick at 2 miles and go for the Supreme. I mean, you had to be very impressed by that on Sunday. Of course you did. I have to say I was pretty disappointed with the opposition. The time was...
Well said. That's exactly right.
I mean, the time was
spot on.
2 seconds slower, nearly 2 seconds slower than the spring juvenile hurdle earlier on the card. And I didn't think they went much of a pace. I thought really only the winner and Paloma Blue, they were the only two who really travelled into contention. Everything else was off the bridle. I was very disappointed with Sharjah. I mean, I was very impressed with him, but just looking back at that race again, watching it this morning, I think he had to win like that, really, given his reputation. He's the most likely winner of Eva Cheltenham novice hurdle, but he's very short. I think if he went for the Ballymore, I'd be looking to find some value with one of the home team. That's
a really important point Jimmy made there, and I think we should expand on that a bit more. It's it was a really disappointing race. We banged on about what a great festival it was, but for those horses none of them went a yard against him. And now that's not to say that he wasn't brilliant, but is that the best we're going to come up with, in novice hurdles this year? Because there's nothing this side of the water. We've got if the cap fits, is it? Maybe on the blind side, and that's it. We haven't got anything else. So if Sandcrow can run whichever race he wants, 3 miles, 2 miles, whatever, he'll win them because he's good. But I'm just, the point that Jimmy made is really valid, that the rest of them aren't very good from what we saw on Saturday. And if that's the case, then, it's not very good for the years to come, because Sandcrow will beat everything, go chasing, he'll beat them all then as well. So just a little bit, I'm siding, I just thought it wasn't great.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with that one. And I think maybe you'll say something similar about the next two horses. We're just going to quickly mention Tower Bridge, of course, sprung a bit of a surprise, and as did Mr. Adjudicator, of course, beat Far Class and Grey Waters with Espoir Dallin. He was abysmal, really. Tom Nugent, any reaction? Which races at Cheltenham were those backed for, if any?
We don't think Tower Bridge is good enough. Mr. Adjudicator 8-1 from 16s for the Triumph. Apple's Shakira shortened up on the back of him as well, 9-4 from 11-4.
Okay, Tom, was I right in thinking that you'd group them in the same sort of disappointment range?
No, I don't know because I can't be sure, but I thought the Juvenile Hurdle might be actually quite a good race.
Okay.
I thought they went a really good pace. It was a good time. I think the first two horses are pretty good. I think Farclay could possibly turn the tables. I think he was ridden to beat Espoir Dallin. Yeah. I think they went quite a good pace there, and then sort of got tired, and it was left for Paul Townend to sort of pick up the pieces. I quite like Farclay, I think, as a Triumph Hurdle horse. I think he's still probably pretty good each way value again with Apple Shakira, obviously the one to beat. But I thought in terms of times and performances, I thought the two of them were pretty good. They'd only had one run each, so there's plenty more to work on. I think, and also I just like the way their demeanour, as I keep saying. I mean, I'm a bit of a bore about it, but I thought they did everything right during the race. Unlike the novice hurdle, where everything did everything wrong, it looked like. None of them could even raise a gallop. So for me, I like the Juvenile Hurdle. I think you could say that those two horses are definitely worth considering each way. I think Mr. Adjudicator, I don't know what Tom said there. I think it was 10-1 or 8-1 or whatever they are. I think they've done nothing. They're the type of horses that can definitely hit the frame, because once again, with Espoir Dallin out the way, you've got Apple Shakira, maybe Alan King's horse Rhodesian, and there's not that much else.
What did you make of Espoir Dallin? I thought there could have been something amiss with him. He just pulled so hard, but then he went out like an absolute light. Yeah,
I mean, that clearly wasn't his running, was it? But you just have to you obviously have to put a line through it. But how can you back him for any race on the back of that? You'll have to. Comes up at Cheltenham, you take what do you do? It's like backing York Hill again, isn't it? What do you do? You just don't. You just don't, do you? As simple as that. And if he wins, he wins. But he's an impossible one to bet on now.
Okay, Jimmy, anything to add to that?
Having said that, we'll probably come on to Edwolf in a minute and say, oh, he was an easy one to get. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we do, Jimmy, anything to add?
Like Tom, I was impressed by the spring Juvenile Hurdle. I thought that was definitely the best from the 4-year-olds in Ireland we've seen this season. And both the first two, Mr. Adjudicator and Far Class, would have strong claims in the Triumph Hurdle. I'd still probably just be siding with the Nicky Henderson pair. I don't know if the Triumph will be the race We Have a Dream goes for, or whether it be something else. But I was impressed with him at Musselburgh on Sunday, especially given that the two other Henderson runners who went up to Musselburgh didn't fare well at all. So I thought that was a good performance in a good time.
Yeah, OK. Now, as Tom's already promised, we're going to talk about the Irish Gold Cup, but we're going to go for this quick advert first.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week and get a £10 free bet the next week. Paddy Power, you beauty! Max £10 bonus per person per week. Excludes shop bets. Selected odds. Conditions and exclusions apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
OK, welcome back to this Monday Postcast. We're going to talk about the Irish Gold Cup now. And I think if you would have said beforehand to anyone, Edwolf is going to win this race, you would have raised quite a few giggles. So it was a bit of a shock, but I'm of the opinion that Kulultovic, it was a muddling race, but I was of the opinion he was by far the best horse in the race. Jimmy, what was your analysis of that race? I thought
it was a fascinating race. I thought the winner was given a wonderful ride by Derek O'Connor. How good is he? I mean, he showed him every fence, and I thought he timed his run to perfection. What a story that is for Edwolf to come back and win that. Kulultovic was definitely the horse for me to take out of the race. I thought he was very novice-y early on. What's surprising, really, he's not that experienced at all over fences. No. He hasn't run over fences for some time. And I thought he really warmed to his task. I don't know, though, whether he necessarily would have won. Whether he would have actually got home or not, I'm not entirely sure. I know he'd hit the front, but he wasn't full of running when he came to the last. So he is a bit unproven over this sort of 3 mile plus trip. So I'm still not sure he's a Gold Cup horse.
Okay, I'm in disagreement with you there. I think he would have won easily. But maybe Tom can tell us more. Tom, what did you make of the race?
I thought it was absolutely rubbish. From start to finish. The three favourites fell. Arduke stopped to a walk. Marlow Beach pulled up after about 2 fences. It was literally a 3-runner race. Jack Adam didn't stay. Outlander, he's pretty good. And Ed Wolf came back from the dead. So, I just don't think anyone, you have no idea what that means. To me, that means absolutely nothing. Now, Kalaltovic was good. He was going to win. I disagree with Jimmy there. I think he would have won. I think he would have won by 2 or 3 lengths. But he will have, if you're going to back him for Cheltenham, you're coming in with a horse that hasn't run over fences, hasn't finished a race over fences for 2.5 years, nearly. Yep. So it's just a complete and utter confusing nightmare, that race for me. I wouldn't know where to start even looking at it. Apart from to say, I think it means nothing. And I wouldn't be surprised if any of the horses that finished 5th, 6th or fell came out and beat the ones that finished 1st, 2nd and 3rd, next time out. I just think it's just confusing. Just completely and utterly a race that has me baffled. Lots of races have me baffled these days, but this takes the biscuit.
And if you had to pick one horse I'm going to really push you for, that could perhaps emulate Sizing John and Synchronised in going on to win the Gold Cup, who would it be, Tom?
Well, blimey, from that race?
Yeah, from this race.
I don't fancy Outlander. Outlander will definitely not win. Jack Adam doesn't stay, so we'll go through them one by one. Ed Wolf's a pretty good horse. Would you fancy him to bounce back on the sack of that? It's not completely without foundation, that, because he's unexposed. Arduke, I'm not sure he ever jumps well enough, and he's had 2 bad runs now. Valsa Leader, I'm pretty sure he's had his better days. Alpha Des Ovo can't win. Galaltovic, as I say, has got loads of talent, but does he jump well enough? Manila Rocco could bounce back, but I say that every week. Annabelle Fly never jumped a fence. That was really disappointing from him because he jumped so well the time before. And Mallow Beach pulled up. I wouldn't back any of them. There we go. How's that?
Perfect. Tom Nugent, what did the Gold Cup market do after this race? Was it as puzzled as Tom was?
Yeah, well, you could have heard a pin drop in Leopardstown when he won the race anyway. But Ed Wolf is 25-1 from 66 for the Gold Cup, and he's a 66-1 puck for the National. I was talking to a few people afterwards, and he either at the festival runs in the Gold Cup or the Kim Muir or something. It's just a real head scratcher. That Irish Gold Cup can often not often, but it can occasionally throw up a funny result. When Carlingford Lock won it twice, there wasn't too many people who had him well back, so it can just come up at a funny time of year. But a real head scratcher. And
who would you take out of the race?
I would agree with you, Maddie. I thought Kalaltovic was coming down to the last very strongly. Obviously, it's disappointing.
I think if anything, the reason he fell was because he was going too fast.
I thought he was pulling Paul Townend's arms out coming down to the second last. I didn't hear it now. I hope he pulled out okay this morning and everything is all right with him. I'm not saying he's a cert for the Gold Cup in Cheltenham, but he'd definitely be of interest to me anyway.
Okay, moving on to Min now. Is he good enough to win a champion chase, Jimmy?
Yeah, absolutely. Some people, and even maybe connections, seem to think Min isn't quite as good as he looks on the track. I mean, certainly from what I've seen on the track, he looks absolutely top class. And he was disappointing over Christmas. I mean, he still finished.
He wasn't the first one, though, was he? Disappointed over Christmas?
Well, many of them did, yeah. It's that time of year when lots of horses do disappoint in the yards and stuff. But I thought he was excellent on Saturday. He jumped beautifully, travelled well, won with total authority, and he's definitely Altior's biggest danger in the champion chase. For me at the moment. And
the Special Tiara, he gave him a really nice lead. He could well do that again in the champion chase, couldn't he? Give him a good pace to aim at.
Just from being a total racing fan, I mean, I absolutely love Special Tiara, so I'll have to have a few quid on him again for the champion chase. But no, surely he can't do it again. But I'm getting it decided at one stage down the back straight that he might even win on Saturday. I mean, he put up another great performance, but no, Min won easily.
You just know with that horse, when he gets the spring around and he gets around Cheltenham at that time of year, he's going to improve a little bit as well. Tom, what on earth would you do with York Hill after that?
I can't say that. I'll be locked up. I don't know. I mean, he's finished now, isn't he? You can't back him on the back of anything. He just looks to have no enthusiasm for anything. He doesn't even travel that well, does he? In his races, I think everything that was, put him away, try and get him back for next year. But he's a no-go area now. As for Min, he was pretty good. Yeah, he surprised me a bit. What I would say though is that if you ever had a scenario where a horse would look good, it was that one. It was once again, it was not a good race. He had two horses go tearing off in front. His only danger was pulled up never ran a race. And let's not forget that if Ordinary World hadn't bashed away his chance at the last when he was a length down, he'd have probably been beaten 1 or 2 lengths, and no one would be talking about it being a wonderful performance as it is now. I think the fact that he was made to look better than he actually is, that's not to say he's not a good horse, because everything in his form points him to be very good. Just not convinced that was very good, as good as it looked. No, it was good, but not as good as it looked. So, yes, I think he is a potential Champion Chase winner if he runs. There's Douvan there. If Douvan comes back, will Min run? There's the question. I'm not sure he will. I'm sure he could run anywhere else.
I was going to say, what do you think his trip is?
I think they think he might be better over a bit further. Now, the problem with him is he pulls a bit hard, so he'll get a better scenario with Special Tiara in the race than he would maybe, although he'll have Undersow probably in the Ryanair to help him settle. But, if it's soft ground, Undersow could come into the champ. I think it's all up in the air. I think that's the thing that this Dublin festival did. It provided more questions than answers. I was expecting to come out of it thinking, oh, that's the one, that's the one, that's the one. I came out thinking, Crow's the one, and I don't know about anything else. Do you know what I mean? And so that's sort of what I think about this race. I mean, Min put his hand in the air very firmly as a Champion Chase potential horse. But I'm not sure the race was quite as good as it made him look, if you see what I mean. Yeah,
totally understood. Tom Nugent, what did you make of it, and what did the bookies make of Min for the Champion Chase, and what would you do with York Hill?
Yeah, I'd agree with Tom there. Just possibly Min is flattered by the 12 lengths that he won by. Possibly he was 9-4 from 5-1 for the Champion Chase. Now he's second favourite in behind Altior or even money. Douvan is next in at 3-1. What would I do with York Hill? If he showed a little bit at home, I'd think about running him in the Ryanair. He won the JLT like a good thing last year. Obviously, spring is his time of year. Look, he's had a tricky is probably an understatement. He's had an unusual year. He's obviously not enjoying his racing as much as possible. But if he was shown a little bit, I'd still give him a chance in the Ryanair. I don't think the Champion Hurdle is a viable option now. The Ryanair is the only option for me, really.
Okay, and Tom, you're talking about how this festival threw up loads of questions. Did Footpad provide a pretty solid answer? Is he your Arkle banker? I was doing the live blog, and a lot of people actually thought Petit Mouchoir could reverse the form at Cheltenham, which I thought was quite surprising and quite interesting. Tom Nugent, before we go to everyone else, what price is he now for the Arkle?
Footpad 10-11 from 11-8.
Okay, so Jimmy, I'll go to you first.
I was very impressed with Footpad's jumping once again, but I think we knew that. I mean, he's a very, very good jumper for a horse so inexperienced. I didn't like the way he was ridden, personally. I can understand why they did it in terms of tactics. Petit Mouchoir hadn't run for a long time and was obviously going to be slightly rusty, so they wanted to use that little bit of fitness edge that Footpad had. But that's not the way I'd ride him at Cheltenham. I mean, one or two people still seem to think Footpad might be a bit of a stayer. Personally, I was convinced coming away from last season that he's got a proper turn of foot. And, I would look to use that personally. We know he's a very good jumper, but I also think he's got quite a bit of speed about him. I think if they ride him properly, I can't see anything getting near him in the Arkle, to be honest with you.
Okay. And Tom, anything to add to that?
Yeah, quite a lot. I agree with Jimmy about, I didn't like the way he was ridden either. I thought they went way too hard on him. Way too hard. I thought there was absolutely nothing left when he hit the line, to be honest. I thought he was exhausted, if I'm telling the truth.
Had a hard race.
He had a hard race. I thought Petit Mouchoir did run really well. He
made a few bad mistakes, didn't he?
He put a few half up. He had a terrible preparation by all accounts going into the race. He's only beaten 5 lengths, and I thought he was coming round the turn. I thought he'd drop away, and he didn't. And he's as good a hurdler as Footpad. If he irons out his jumping, he'd be there. I personally think the Arkle's a really good. I think that's the worst odds-on shot of the festival by a mile. I mean, there's a few short price favourites, but I think Footpad's way too short. But I think Alan King's horse is very good. The three of them, Footpad, Putishcore and So Royale, there was nothing much between them in the champion hurdle last year. A couple of lengths. It'll depend on who jumps best. I think Alan King's horse will have the race set up because I don't think they'll change tactics with Footpad. So I think they'll want to use his jumping. And I know Petit Mouchepar likes to go from the front as well. So I think there'll be plenty of pace on. I think that might set it up for So Royale myself. I think I can't believe no one likes him much. I thought his performance at Sandown was as good as anything Footpad's done myself. But I get the fact that people like what they see, and he's won all his races by so far, and he's a brilliant jumper. But for me, I think that's a bad price. I really do. I think there's both of those two horses have as good a chance as him.
Okay, moving on. Monolly, of course, fought out a great finish in the Flogus Novices Chase. Is he your idea of the RSA winner, Tom? I know you were more keen on Fountains Windfall and a lot of other English contenders when we last looked at this race. Is that still the case?
I don't think he'll run in the RSA.
Okay.
I think he pulls too hard. I think he was too keen again on Saturday. If you go back and watch the Albert Bartlett last year, he pulled his head off for 2 miles and still nearly won. I think he's a much quicker horse than people give him credit for. He may say with no problems at all. I think he'll run in the JLT. And if he ran in the JLT, I'd give him a much better chance than if he ran in the RSA. I think he'll get outstayed in the RSA. I think he was too keen. I didn't think there was that much left yesterday, and there was 5 of them jumping the last all in a line. I think he'd be better off getting a lead in the JLT. That's the race I'd run him in. I love him though. I think he's a brilliant jumper. That one mistake bar last time over Christmas, I think he was foot perfect yesterday. Noel Feely gave him a great ride, but I'd be worried about him getting home in an RSA myself. Okay,
Jimmy, anything to add to that?
I would expect Monolly to run in the RSA. I mean, you only have to look at him. He looks like a 3-mile chaser. He probably does need to settle a bit better, but I like the tactics that they were using with him yesterday. That should just help calm him down a bit, putting him out in front like that. I loved his jumping. His jumping was absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's why I love watching steeplechasing, watching horses like that jump. I think he'd have a great chance in both races, to be honest with you. But we know he stays 3 miles, and the opposition probably won't be as strong in the RSA as it is in the JLT. So that's the race I'd go for if I was his connections.
I'm not sure, Jimmy. I'm not sure. I think the whole of Ireland's talking about, Tom will tell you here, the whole of Ireland's talking about presenting Percy as the biggest certainty to look through a bridle in the RSA. And I think they might want to go elsewhere. I wouldn't honestly be surprised if they switch to the JLT. I think that's the race they'll end up running in. What do you think, Tom?
Tom.
Well, I was out with a few lads from Mullingar. The owner, Philip Reynolds, is from Mullingar, and I was out with a few lads from Mullingar on Saturday night, and they said exactly what you said. Presenting Percy is the biggest certainty of all time. And the Wednesday Cheltenham. Now, that's just the word from Mullingar. It's the gospel according to Mullingar. That's what they say.
Okay.
So you think there's a possibility I could be onto something?
Well, if I had a horse in the race, I might be looking to dodge him as well.
Okay, fair play then. Presenting Percy, the horse on everyone's lips. I thought that race on Sunday was really good quality, though. Album Photo, invitation only. I thought they were all really good horses. Moving on to Sandown quickly. Tearful won the Scilly Isles. He is another one who could go to the JLT. I know the trainers thought absolutely nothing of him when he works at home. And again, we've got that question of how's he going to be on better ground. Tom Nugent, what price is he now for the JLT?
12 from 14s initially, and he's a 10-1 shot at the moment.
Okay, Jimmy, starting with you, Tearful. He jumped lovely, didn't he, in the hole?
Yeah, jumped lovely. I was impressed with what I saw of him at Huntingdon. This was a much better class race. So he had plenty of questions to answer, but he answered them. Showed a good attitude too, because the second horse, Suriname, was really putting it up to him towards the end. And he's a very young horse, so there could be plenty of improvement to come there. And if he can improve as well for better ground, then yeah, he would have a good chance in the JLT, definitely.
I'm not sure he will. I think soft ground could be his forte. Tom, what did you make of Tearful?
No chance. None at all.
Yeah.
No, it won't be quick enough. Horses like Willoughby Court and Monolly, if he runs, will be far too quick for him on good ground. I mean, look, if it came up heavy came up soft, you throw him in there. But I think on good ground, I don't think he'd have any chance in the JLT.
A lot of his form's on softer ground, isn't it? So it is a big question mark whether he'd handle a better surface.
I don't think the quality of that race was perhaps as good as some people thought it was as well. Moving on, one horse to put in your Racing Post tracker, Tom Nugent. I'll tell you what, before actually I ask you this, I want to talk to you about Black Boat, the horse who won the Grade 2 bumper for Willie Mullins, because you actually bred this fella, didn't you?
Yeah, myself and my parents had the blind luck of breeding Black Bow. He looked really, really good at the weekend, so we're more than excited for Cheltenham.
Yeah, and do you think that's the race for him, and that he'll go to the Champion Bumper?
The owners are keen. I suppose he's now very high up in Willie's bumper horse pecking order, so I'd imagine he probably might just have to go with him. He probably has other horses picked out for the likes of Aintree and Punchestown. It looks like himself and Holographic are now the top two in the yard. So it's all very exciting.
Yeah.
Not sleeping too well, but yeah, the dream is still alive anyway.
And how was he to deal with as a young horse? Did you always think he was going to be pretty good, or?
He was grand. We sold him on as a foal, so he wasn't in our place for too long. But he was always a pleasure to deal with. His mother was a bit of a handful, but he was grand. Lovely strong foal, and he turned into a lovely store horse. And if you see him in the parade ring now, there's some photographs knocking around of him on Twitter. He's a really, really good looking horse, big 17 hen horse. He'll be a better chaser in time. So yeah, no, we can't believe it. We're very, very excited now at the minute.
Okay, well, we wish you all the best with him. But for your RP tracker horse? Patrick's Park won the Sandyford handicap chase there over the weekend in Leopardstown. I would say he'll definitely win again. Maybe it'll be interesting to see where he gets an entry for, but I thought he won with a bit up his sleeve. Okay, and Tom?
I think we've missed the best performance of all. Total Recall, Maddie. Thought he was absolutely superb. How horses aren't supposed to win races like that. He went completely bonkers for the
£31 well in.
Don't care. They should run him in the Coral Cup. He'd win it with his head in his chest. He is an absolute superb racehorse. If they want to keep him back for the Grand National, run him in the Coral Cup because he'll win that. He's a really, really top class horse.
Okay, so he'd be your tracker horse, or is that just one you wanted to mention?
Wherever he runs next, even in the Gold Cup, I'll be backing him.
Okay.
I think his performance was as good as anything at the weekend. Just horses aren't supposed to do that and still quicken up off the last. I know he was well in. I know the race wasn't that good, but horses aren't supposed to do that, and he did. And I'll be following wherever he goes. Yeah.
Okay, Tom's very excited about Total Recall. Jimmy?
I like the Coral Hurdle winner. Off you go. I thought he was very impressive. Particularly as he didn't jump the last sat well, and he could have easily got swallowed up. But once they came at him, he kicked on again. And I'll be interested to see which entries he gets now, because he can keep on winning for sure.
Okay, I'm going to be really cheeky and put one in there, and that's Dunikos. I said that Flogus, I thought that was a really good race. He was flat to the boards, but he still stayed on really well. I think something like the National Hunt Chase, if he ended up going that way, he could run a really big race in that. Now, tomorrow, we're going to talk about the Ryanair Chase on our Cheltenham Postcast. That's, of course, on Facebook Live. None of you guys will actually be here for that, sadly, so I just want to get your quick picks for that. Jimmy, Ryanair, fancy?
Well, hopefully Fox Norton, if he runs. I certainly wouldn't back him at the moment unless it's non-runner, no bet, because probably the Champion Chase is a more likely option. But no, I think he'd have a great chance on the Ryanair if he ran in it. He's always looked to me like he's a 2.5 miler. And we know he's got the beating of Undersow, so he'd have as good a chance as any.
Okay, Tom Siegel?
I'm quite keen, actually. This is one of my better bets, I think, for the Cheltenham Festival on a horse called Balco Day Flow. I think that form of the Road to Respect form, Outlander form at Cheltenham is the best 3-mile form this year. I think he just has to have good ground. I think he's almost unbeatable. I think he's like 5 from 5 bar 1 defeat on good ground. I think he's really, really good.
He fell in York Hills JLT, didn't he, as well? So he could have run a good race in that.
He was absolutely cantering in front, 3 lengths clear when he came out, 4 out. I just think he's a really good under the radar horse on good ground. And I think, given that they've got Road to Respect and a few others for the Gold Cup, I think they'll want to run him in the Ryanair. I think that's the right race for him. I think the ground is the key, and I think he's a big price at 14-1.
Okay, Tom Nugent, I was just going to say, can we get any prices on Fox Norton and Balco de Flo for the Ryanair?
Fox Norton 11-2, non-runner no bet, and Balco de Flo 10-1, non-runner no bet.
Okay, brilliant. And your Ryanair fancy?
Undersoul is one of my favourite horses in training. He's 5-2 favourite at the moment. He's a bit unoriginal, so with that in mind, there's a little bit of a leaning now. The whispers are Coney Island could quite well run in the Ryanair. He runs an Ascot in, I think it's Saturday week, and he's a 7-1 shot for the Ryanair. I'd be very interested. There'll be lots of pace on Undersoul, probably make it a good gallop, and he'll be able to stay on up the hill. I'd be very, very interested by Coney Island. I think he's a really good horse.
I think I'll be able to hear Frank Hickey crying from here if he runs in the Ryanair.
Yes, big Gold Cup fancy.
Big Gold Cup hope is Coney Island for Frank. Right, that's about it from us lot. If you enjoy these shows, make sure to rate, review and subscribe on iTunes. And as I previously mentioned, tomorrow Sam Twiston-Davis will join us on the Facebook Live preview of the Ryanair Chase. So make sure you don't miss that.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week and get a £10 free bet the next week. Paddy Power, you beauty! Max £10 bonus per person per week. Excludes shop bets. Selected odds. Conditions and exclusions apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.